Musical guest. The evil returns. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer. This is the 8th episode of me watching Rob Zombie movies for some reason. And my guest for whatever year's 3 from Hell is Caitlin O'Neill, my partner.
Hello.
Who somehow lucked out into the 3rd movie in a franchise they have not seen in probably like 20 years.
Yeah, like on purpose. I haven't watched it since I first watched the first 2.
This one's interesting. I have opinions.
Yeah.
Because this was one of the 2 that I had never seen before. Like, I watched it like a day or 2 ago because I was like, I'll, make sure there wasn't like you came home when I was watching Devil's Rejects at the worst time, which was when the fucking motel scenes happening. So, like, I watched in advance just to be like, I want to make sure there's no like egregious sexual assault scene.
I asked you to.
Well, you asked if there were.
I don't like Devil's Rejects.
Well, so you asked if there was one in there, and I was like, I don't know, I've never seen it before, yeah. So I watched it, and like, surprisingly, there's not, but not unsurprisingly, because Bill Moseley has talked about how he had such a hard time filming that motel scene in the first one that I think he specifically was like, can we not do that?
It's just like, again, like, there's no it doesn't make or break the storyline for them to be that aggressive sexually.
It's
like, because
it's
the whole
much,
thing is that they're serial killers and they're so crazy. And then, like, adding that element into it, like, in this one, they show you, like, they're rough with women. They don't care if they live or die. Like, whoever they fuck, they fuck. Well, like we get the idea that comes with some sexual violence.
In this one, it's, like, insinuated.
That's what I mean.
But, like,
we don't need to see I don't need to see it.
It's very much a thing where there's, like, it's fine. He's fine. It's a thing where, like, I feel like people who are obsessed with movies from the 70s feel like that's, like, a necessary component. And, like, for me, it's a thing where it's, like, if it's done in a way that's, like, it needs to be pivotal to the plot.
That's what I'm saying.
And, Rob Zombie has a very edgelord streak in him a little bit.
Yeah.
Where
culminating in the second movie in this series, I think.
I'm trying to think if there's anything worse.
I guess so edgelordy.
In what I disagree. I think that scene is a
that
little
scene, that
harsh.
Whole movie.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Ugh.
That is, I think, probably his most cohesive movie. Because now,
it's not a blatant ripoff of another already existing movie.
It is.
Well, okay, there you go. So that tracks.
It's Bonnie and Clyde meets whatever Texas Chainsaw Massacre shit he's obsessed with. Anyway, the thing I've been asking everybody before, like, actually getting into the movie is, like, what is your history with Rob Zombie as, like, either a musician or his movies or, like, whatever? Like, were you a White Zombie fan? Like, I assume, like, knowing you, because I hear
Don't assume about me.
I hear you around the house singing Dragula all the time.
No,
so I assume.
Is that something I sing without realizing?
No.
Oh, I mean, it's possible.
So I because he's not someone I think we've ever really, like, talked about. Because, like, until I started doing this, like, I had, like, other than, like, him when he would come up on I Hope You Suffer, like, I don't think I've ever, like, specifically been talking about Rob Zombie a lot. So I'm curious, especially with you.
I mean, let's see. My sister liked White Zombie when she was in high school in the 90s, so I, like, knew of them. And I liked the music. I never had my own, like I've never owned a White Zombie album, But I liked their music. I think now their music has become such a joke because of like Dragula and like all those like crazy.
I think once he left and like became solo, like in the House of a Thousand Corpses episode with Shane, I talked about. I was like, I
was gonna sing. I was gonna sing for you.
Well, I don't want to hear Dragula.
No, not Dragula. That now I can't think of the song that's like. I
don't know what you're talking about. That's every Rob Zombie song. No.
More human than human.
Oh, that was not at all what I just heard you sing.
I think that's what I was singing.
I had like before I recorded with Shane, I was like, I'm gonna listen to like that album, the one with More Human than Human on it. 'Cause I was like, I haven't listened to this in probably like 30 years or whatever, and like I'm interested. And like my takeaway was, it's still really good, but like he's the weakest part of that band. Like musically, it's
Sean on the bass.
She's awesome.
Her
and like I don't know who the drummer. I can't remember the drummer's name. Are like killing it on that album. But like,
well, so that's what I was gonna finish.
Yeah,
what I knew was like, because that was like the MTV era, right? Like when my sister was listening to them, and I saw that they had a bassist who was like a woman, and it stood out to me that it was not like someone that was like, we're going to put this woman because she's hot up front and like whatever. And she was just like a part of the band and it wasn't a big deal. And like at that time, there weren't a lot of bands where you saw that, like at least in like my like worldview at
outside
like
of like
8
maybe
or whatever,
maybe like
10.
Her being like the singer would be
like that's what I mean, being like the front lane and like being like sexualized and all these things. And so I just it stood out to me. Like I always like had an affinity. Like it's one of the things like when I first went to see Indecision, like it stood out to me. Like Rachel from Indecision, like it stood out to me. Like I just like any band that had like
what
am I saying? Am I thinking of Indecision or Snapcase?
Not Snapcase.
Snapcase was all dudes. That was all dudes. I just felt like my brain felt fuzzy, but it's Indecision.
Was it Indecision or more Most Precious Blood?
Maybe she was in both, but I know Indecision.
I don't know. Yeah,
but
I'm unfamiliar with both as outside like of what who was in the band.
From
I mean,
North Jersey, it's like whatever.
Like I'm familiar with.
I'm
the music,
just saying, I'm like whatever it is, I'm gonna get. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But like any band that had like a woman in it, like a queer person, like I just felt drawn to.
I think you're thinking of Garbage.
Shirley Manson. I think you're thinking of Hole.
Yeah. I think you had said when I started doing this that like at least you had seen House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects before.
I've seen House of a Thousand Corpses multiple times because like you can't have been like a teenager into horror movies like in the early 2000s. Like what was I like in my late teens, early 20s. That was just like around. It was always on. People thought it was like so shocking. My take on it the first time I saw it was like, I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre the first time. Like, what are we doing? And that was an unpopular opinion. And all the dudes I hung out with told me I was like stupid and I didn't appreciate it. And that's just my take. I was dating someone. My ex Joe was like, he had like a love-hate for Rob Zombie, where like he appreciated that the movies that he did, but like also hated that his like, I think he was like, as a lover of classic horror himself, he was like, I would have done it better. Like, his take. So we saw those two, and I saw, I think the first remake of Halloween that he did. Okay. With like the teenager. With little kid Michael for like the first half of it. Yeah, and she's like the teenager. So
I mean, technically Jamie Lee Curtis is supposed to be a teenager in Halloween as well.
Well, I guess, but that was the time when teenagers looked like they were like 37. So
that comes up in every fucking episode of I Abuse Suffer, where like we constantly talk about how like every movie from like the 80s and 90s, everyone like, and it always comes back to Saved by the Bell. Like everyone Saved by the Bell is age appropriate, but they look 45.
Yeah, or like 90210. There are some not age appropriate, but they all look 47. Anyway, so that's my history with it. I'm, like aware of him in the periphery, if that makes sense. Like he's not like outside of my orbit in terms of things I pay attention to, but it's not necessarily like I'm not going to see Rob Zombie in concert unless somebody else I like is.
I saw him in concert.
Okay.
The Fear Factory opened, which is why I went.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying.
Because I
Like, I'm not buying the ticket.
I loved White Zombie, and I did not like his solo stuff.
Yeah.
Even like that, like when Dragula and shit came out, everyone was losing their mind. Like I didn't like that. But when House of a Thousand Corpses came out, I was like day one in theater because it was like a movie that was like being like, it got shot in like 2000 or 2001, didn't get released until 2003, and there was this big fucking thing about like Universal Studio like was going to release it and they dropped it, and like everyone was like, oh my god, you don't understand, it's so gory that it's going to be like,
well, it's everybody said, and
so,
I was like,
well no, that was what it was supposed to be, or that's how, you know, like all the rumor mill shit, like early internet. And I went and saw it, and it like wasn't that, but I was like the thing I've talked about in all these episodes is I was the guy at that point. It was like, you don't understand. I like underground movies, like Evil Dead. I don't know if you've heard of Dawn of the Dead.
At that point?
Yeah. Well, you have to understand, I grew up in...
No, I was trying to say, like, you're not that now.
No, I'm not. Like,
I'm joking
I know.
with you.
In Ohio, it was a thing where it was like, the movie theaters I had access to was like, oh, I guess I'm like, I would be like, I don't really want to see it, but the Omen remake is playing, so I'll go see it. So
that was like that everywhere at a certain time. Like if it was playing in the suburbs and it was like horror-ish, like you were seeing it.
I was like, oh my god, this is like the greatest movie I've ever seen. And then it came out on DVD and I rewatched it and I was like, I don't know if I like this. Yeah. And watching it this time, I was like, it's fine. It's not terrible. It's also like, it's very much a movie where it was, I feel like Rob Zombie was like, I've had all of these ideas in my brain for like 40 years.
Yeah, it felt like you wanted to get them out.
This is my maybe only chance to do it. I'm throwing everything in there. So that movie's a real mishmash of shit that like, it feels very like all over the place. That's why when you get to Devil's Rejects and it's very much a concise, specific story, I was like, oh shit, he's like a real filmmaker now. Yeah. And like, I've spent the last maybe 15 years being like, fuck Rob Zombie, these movies are garbage. Now that I've watched all of them, there's only 2 of them I don't like.
Really? Which
ones? 31 and The Munsters, which I haven't rewatched The Munsters yet, but I fucking hated it when it came out.
Like for Halloween?
31 is a movie he made before this that is like a group of like rich people kidnap this like traveling carnival people on Halloween to put them through essentially a giant warehouse full of like fucking not saw traps, but they go into a room and it's like a bunch of killer clowns with chainsaws and shit. It's garbage.
I was curious what 31 if it was like Halloween.
It is. It all takes place on Halloween because they all do.
Well, that's the thing. That's my other issue.
I know, your birthday.
No, I just think it's like, again, it's just like liking Halloween as a personality is weird to me.
The thing about him that drives me crazy, and it's the thing that I'm sure everyone listening to these episodes is tired of hearing so far, is he needs an editor to get him out of his own way of his like aesthetic and bullshit.
Well, and his aesthetic, his homages, his this. Like, this could have been... Half of this movie was fucking, like, Dusk Till Dawn. Like,
before we get into that, so far he's made one movie, and the other movie I had not seen yet was Lords of Salem, which is what I watched for this, which is everyone told me was like, if you don't like Rob Zombie, you're gonna love Lords of Salem, and they were correct.
I might like that.
Really fucking liked Lords of Salem because it felt like there's shit in it where like every time I'm like really sucked in, Rob Zombie either has the worst dialogue written for someone or like will throw in like a weird fucking like creature that I was like, come on, man, like you're doing so well.
Or just cheesy shit that's been done before.
Like Lords of Salem is like, it's a witch story. And it's very much, it's like his take on like Stanley Kubrick. And so it looks incredible. Like he filmed it. Like they do that shit where it's like these fucking like zoom shot down a hall. I don't know. It looks really good. And like, I really liked that. And I'm a proponent of his Halloween 2 because it's weird. And it's him taking, he takes a real weird swing with the Halloween franchise that everyone hated. And I was like, you know what? He's the only one who did something different with a Halloween movie that wasn't just like, here's Michael Myers killing a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And it's, like, really strange and, like, deals really heavily with, like, trauma and PTSD. And I, like, as much as, like, everyone else hates it, I appreciate that he took, like, a weird swing with it and, like, stuck with it and didn't really, like, back down on, like, his vision for that movie. I like Devil's Rejects. It's not, like, I think it's his most cohesive movie, but I don't think it's his best.
Yeah.
I personally think Halloween 2 is his best, maybe Lords of Salem, but Lords of Salem I've only seen the one time now. But, like, he's, like, a weird filmmaker where I'm just, like, I need you to hire someone to write the movie for you.
He needs to edit.
Like, you tell them what you want from the plot, but, like, let them write the dialogue, because he writes the worst dialogue.
Well, that's like with any artist, like, you need to edit. Like, whatever it is.
And there's very few people that could do the writer, director, like, producer, whatever, like, doing all of those things and make it, like, work most of the time.
Well, so it's interesting because, like, what sticks, like, obviously House of a Thousand Corpses, I've seen it more, so it sticks more in my mind. So if, like, going from that to this movie, you could tell where, like, he's improved and the actors have improved and, like, they're more, like, in their roles. So, like, that was interesting to see.
So this movie's interesting because, like, I looked at your review on Letterboxd and I have the exact same thoughts where I'm like,
what did I put?
You basically put, like, this was fine, but it was pointless.
I'm neutral about
it. I
didn't
enjoy.
say it was pointless.
You said there was no point or something to it. I'm pretty sure.
I did.
Like, this movie is almost
my Letterboxd. There's, like, first of all, you and Brandon follow me on Letterboxd, and I follow you and Brandon and Nicole Byers and what's her name, Lauren Lapkus' podcast. That's it. So, like, I really don't care what my Letterboxd review is.
I don't either. But...
No, you put this was totally fine but completely unnecessary.
Yeah. So
what did I put? Probably the same thing.
It's relatively the same.
Oh yeah,
thing.
I felt neutral about this same. It's not bad. It just exists.
Oh, I thought you said something about it.
This film.
So this movie is almost point for point the plot of Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
Where
actually, where they, they take the
outside, like, the prison break stuff is a little different from, like, them.
I like that part.
Their house getting raided at the beginning of Devil's Rejects and them going on the run. But the entire third act of Devil's Rejects is the brother of the cop in House of a Thousand Corpses that gets killed is trying to get revenge on them, which is the exact third act of this movie, just now with, like, a Mexican cartel, whatever. And so I was like, this, like, the ending of Devil's Rejects is so fucking perfect, where it's, they escape from, like, that, you know, like, Tiny, their huge brother, kills that cop, and they are driving, what you see at the beginning of this, they're driving, but they're all fucked up from being tortured. And the car stops, and, like, all of Freebird plays during this entire scene. And they stop, and the camera pans, and you just see a line of cops blocking the road. And so Otis, like wakes up Baby and Captain Spaulding, and, like, hands them guns. And it's just them driving at the police and firing, and a shootout happens, and it ends with them getting shot a bajillion times.
Oh, okay, that's why they were like, they're in the hospital. Like, I remember that now that you're describing it, but like I said, it's probably been about 20 years.
It would have been the perfect ending for those characters. And so, when this got announced, I was like, how the fuck are they alive? That actively shows them each get shot a million times. And so this starts and it was like, they went to the hospital. They're fine.
Then they're just like, but Tiny didn't make it. Like, they don't
so Tiny,
for him.
At the end of Devil's Rejects, they all get in the car, and Otis is standing there talking to Tiny. He's like, are you sure about this? And Tiny just nods at him, and he's like, we'll be back for you. And they drive off, and Tiny walks back into the house that's on fire. Because in my memory, Tiny lived, and then I watched it, I was like, oh, Tiny walks back into the fucking...
But maybe he did, because this leaves room for a fourth.
Like, he talks about in, like, the commentary that, like, specifically Tiny... Because Tiny, in House of a Thousand Corpses, his story is that he's burnt...
Oh, okay.
And all the stuff. So, like...
Baby talks about him in this.
Yeah, with Sebastian. Yeah. So, like... I don't know. I'm interested to see if he does another one. I kind of...
It feels like he left it open to do another
I think he...
one.
Like, this one feels like... So, one of the things...
It feels like it should be the second in a 3-part.
Well, yes, because it's exactly the plot of Devil's Rejects. I think this movie came about because his Halloween 2 was like massively hated.
Yeah.
And then he did Lords of Salem, which seems like most people that like this kind of movies I like actually were like, oh, he made like a real movie. And the people that liked House of a Thousand Corpses was like, fuck this. This is garbage. Well, and then he did 31, which I think everyone hated unless you just like shitty horror movies. So I think somebody was like, hey, you're kind of in like, you're in the garbage bin right now. What if you made another one of these rejects movies?
Everybody loves,
and they gave him funding for it, and he was like, all right, I guess.
Yeah.
And so...
Is that what happened, or you just...
I don't know. I assume, because... Like I said, he's not... Like, he's somebody who, when like movies were coming out, I would notice were coming out, but I wasn't actively paying attention to.
Yeah. Well, for me, like, with House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects... what, like, an observation I felt about, and this is at a time when, whenever I was, like, single and not in a relationship, I was definitely, like, hanging out with, like, very, like people who were not, like, woke in any way, like, misogynistic people. I was just, like, doing a lot of drugs, hanging out with whoever I hung out with.
Hanging out with people in the punk scene. So.
Yeah, pretty much, or, like, metal, or, like, you know, and just, like, whatever, going where the drugs took me. But, so for me... a lot of the men that I watch these movies with, like, liked those, like, super misogynistic parts of them. And so for me, I felt like that, it attracted, like, a very, like, low vibration, like Devil's Rejects specifically, to the people who just loved it for how sexually violent and, like, violent it was, like, regular violent, versus... like, seeing it as part of a story. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So, like, in my head, I associate it with that.
There's a lot of people that are, like, fans of, like, the rape revenge, like, genre, where, like, they
not
don't...
for the reason where they're on the side of the revenge.
They, like, I don't think they get it. I think they just think it's, like, here's this dumb movie, and I'm like, you can't say, like, I don't know, like, A Last House on the Left is just this, like, dumb erotic movie, because it's not. It is, like, the bleakest shit.
Yeah, and so outside of that, like, whatever. But this movie is, like... yeah, this movie, to me, feels like he was just like, I'm gonna do Devil's Rejects, but better.
Nah, I disagree with that. But
well, that's for me.
I think maybe that was his idea. But I think Devil's Rejects is a more cohesive movie. Yeah. Where, like... One of the issues with 3 from Hell is that plot is not the original idea. And I guess he went to film with Sid Haig the first time and was like, fuck.
It's not good, yeah.
Like, I don't think he realized how... like, Sid Haig died 5 days after this movie came out. And I don't think Rob Zombie had realized how bad of a shape he was in. Because my understanding is the original plot was going to be legitimately a prison break movie with more with Otis and Spaulding breaking Baby out. Where, like, I think the idea it would have probably followed that same idea of, like, Otis breaking out, but instead of having Richard Brake's character in this, it would have been Captain Spaulding, and they would have broken.
And it would have been better.
Like, there was, like, a thing I read where he talked about, like, there was going to be this big prison break scene where they were using, like, other prisoners as, like, body, like, to, like, stop people getting shot from the guards and shit like that. And, like, the things in this movie that I love are the first half. Yeah. Everything until they, like, I don't dislike the stuff in Mexico, but everything before that, I'm like, this movie could have ended with them breaking her out. Yeah. And then given him time to write maybe another movie if he wanted to continue. But, like, the stuff, like, I think he does the stuff in that house with the warden and shit feels like the motel scene, but better.
I was going to say, it's the motel scene, but it's, the sexual violence is there, but it's more implicated, which actually makes it also creepy, because, like, the scene where it just shoots to them in the morning, and the one
like
guy's wife is just sitting
couch.
There, naked, but, like, covered in her husband's blood, and just, like, fully naked, not just like, oh, take your top off, just sitting there, and it's clear that it's like oh, Otis happened. Is in charge of what happens to her, and, like, it's clear that something happened and she was made to do that. For me, that's enough sexual violence. It's there, we know something happened or is going to happen, and then the rest of it carries on. Like, again, like, I think just, for me, sexual violence for the sake of it is not entertaining. So, like, that, but the idea of it, I get it. Like, they're terrible, they're tormenting these people. So for me, yeah, that was a better version of that motel scene.
I think of it in terms of, like, I know this is a movie I haven't seen, is Miss 45.
Yeah.
Which is, like, a rape revenge movie that, like, all of the, like, assault stuff happens in the first, like, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it's a movie about her getting revenge.
Yeah.
And so, like, you get those scenes, and then it just becomes like, okay, this is how she's fucking turning the tables on, maybe whatever, you know? And, like, I get what, like, he's going for with, like, especially that motel scene in Devil's Rejects. Like, I get what he's doing.
But it missed the mark.
And it's like, but it's a thing where, like I talked about it in that episode, where Bill Moseley was like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. And it was, like, literally, like, the actress was just, like, took control of the scene.
Yeah. Well, that has to be.
And made it so, like, she was like, this is what we're going to do. And Bill Moseley was like, okay, like, this makes me feel better about doing it and stuff. But, like, even, like, Rob Zombie has talked about in the commentary, he was like, no one had fun. Like, I didn't have fun doing this.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, and you kind of feel that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. For me, the people who enjoy that scene are like, what's wrong with the world? You know?
I also think, like, so, like,
that's my take on that.
The thing I brought up in that episode is I recorded that episode with John, who had I didn't realize had never seen any of these movies, so he went into Devil's Rejects. He was like, I didn't realize this was a sequel, but
did you apologize to him?
No, I was like, look, man, you lucked out and you got probably the best one, but I brought up, like, Untold Story, where I was like, the thing about Untold Story that I think makes it more, like, quote unquote fun to watch is I was like, anytime something heavy happens, it'll cut to, like, the police being dumb as shit and, like, goofy stuff. Where I was like, Devil's Rejects is, like, relentlessly.
It's relentless.
There's
abuse.
one scene in that entire movie that's got, like, jokes in it. Everything else.
Violence,
the dialogue in 3 from Hell, fucking terrible. And but I think Otis. My take so far is that the only there's 2 people in all of his movies that I think deliver his cringy dialogue well, and it is Bill Moseley and Sid Haig.
Yeah.
Like, I believe them saying that dialogue.
Yeah.
And like the Halloween movies, when they're like, they look like they're supposed to be, like, you're supposed to assume they're the 70s, but, like, there's shit in
Everything's always the 70s with him.
Well, these 3 are specifically the 70s. Yeah. Like, they're stated that it takes place in the 70s, but Halloween feels like the 70s were supposed to take place in, like, a generic time. He doesn't say.
Outside of time.
But it's like the only songs that play in it are like Thin Lizzy and fucking The Misfits Halloween and, you know, shit like that.
And everything's always 70s coded.
And so, like there's shit in those where I'm just like, oh my god, no one can fucking, like, anyone delivering some of his, like, really sort of, like, cringy, like, quote unquote, like, southern white trash whatever thing he does, like, sounds terrible. Well, but Bill Moseley
does it really well.
Is killing it every time he's talking.
He was better in this movie, I think, as in those lines and the delivery of that character than I've seen him yet. Like,
I think he's better.
It was more, like, realized.
I think he's better in Devil's Rejects, but I think he has better things to say in Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, but I think he felt more like, it felt more natural in this, like, where it didn't feel as bad acting.
This movie has more levity to it, I think.
Yeah. He was a little bit more, like, you saw him, like, laughing at Baby and kind of, like, you saw his, like, affection for his sister and, like, you know, like, it was very strange, but, like, it was there. Even with the women, like, yes, it's implied that he had this, like, whatever threesome with, like, the 2 Mexican women at the bar.
The sex workers or whatever.
Yeah, but, like, he wasn't, like, violent with them, you know?
Yeah, it's almost
at least that we see. It's almost like he got drunk and had a fun night in fucking Durango or whatever,
so,
you know?
Like, that happens in Devil's Rejects, too, but it's the scene that leads to, like, the bounty hunters coming in, where, like, they go to Ken Foray from Dawn of the Dead's, runs this, like, weird brothel town that's, like, a fucking old western town that he turned into a brothel. And they're all partying, and, like, the cop, that's after them has like kind of blackmailed him to be like, you know, drug them, whatever, get them drunk so they can't leave. It's the exact same shit that happens in this, but just like a little different. And so like that stuff happens, but that's when they get kidnapped and whatever. And in this one, they like, you know, they sort of get kidnapped, but it's like at no moment does it feel like they don't really have the upper hand.
Yeah, well, that was my issue. So the part with the Mexican gang, that part for me is when this movie lost me, because it was like, this is the exact same plot, but this plot is so been done, right? And I guess for me, because I love, like I said, the one guy who leads the Mexican gang, I'm pretty sure he's the guy from like Mayans, which was like the spinoff from Sons of Anarchy. So he plays like
were they like a gang? I assume?
Yeah, like the Latinx like motorcycle gang is called the Mayans, and they had spinoff. And like I think it's the same guy, and he's in a lot, and so he plays that kind of role, that like boss role a lot. So it's like, okay, this has been done before. The whole like, you know, Mexican, like, what are they, a drug cartel? Most likely. But then it makes no sense when they call the motel and the motel guy's like, I got you that pound of the white stuff.
Well, no, so that guy...
And I'm like, wait, we're to believe that the Mexican gang needed this dude to get them coke? Like,
no, I think he somewhat works for them, where it's like...
I don't know. That,
like, because he
line.
calls them to be like, I have something you've been looking for. And when he's just like, who is this? He's like, it's Carlos. And he's like, dude, you know how many people named Carlos?
He's like,
and
I got you that white stuff.
I think he was literally I think that was just a line to be like, this is how they know each other.
But do you know what I'm saying, though? He
would have got it from the United States.
It's like, the fact
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't...
fucking doofus.
I don't agree. He's
such a doofus.
If, he's not doofus.
He's a doofus, but he is not getting that, like, high-powered Mexican gang. He is not responsible for getting their connections.
I don't think he's responsible for it. I think he sold it to them once.
But, like,
and that's why they would know him.
That they don't have cartel connections better than his.
They probably do, but, like, do you think they would turn down, like, 10 kilos of fucking cocaine that they could sell for more money?
I mean, I know how that works. I'm just saying the believability.
Carlos is the only real character in this movie.
Carlos knowing better cocaine connections.
No one ever said it was better. It just said he sold
Mexican
some
gang.
drugs to them.
I don't know. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Carlos is responsible.
Maybe Sebastian sold it to him. Maybe Sebastian gave him all the cocaine, and then he sold it.
Sebastian's cool as shit.
Yes.
I wanted Sebastian to live
join them.
I want Sebastian and Baby to get married.
Yeah, he was too good to live.
Yeah, he was too good for her.
That's
the other thing. Oh,
I was gonna say, like, because we sort of talked about a little bit, like, Sherri Moon Zombie.
Yeah. So I found her previously to always be the absolute worst at delivering the Rob Zombie, like, one-liners and shit. And in this movie, it felt more organic coming from her. There were less shitty one-liners and more like, hey, Sherri Moon, go fucking bonkers. Like, and it's always implied that she's crazy, right? Like, she's always like, I'm cute but crazy. Like, that's like her fucking sexy baby who might kill you, like, thing. But this movie, like, for me, it worked finally, if that makes sense.
So you're thinking just House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
So I, going into this, was one of those people who's like, dude, stop casting your fucking wife and everything.
Well, he's a wife guy.
And yes, 100%. He's the most wife guy.
He's the wife guy.
Rewatching all these movies, I think she's pretty good in most of them.
I love her.
House of a Thousand Corpses, she's whatever. She's like...
She was like brand new to acting.
Yes,
right?
She's done one movie outside of his.
Oh, wow.
Because... So, like, the first 4 I watched, somebody had uploaded, like, the commentary tracks to YouTube, so I listened to them at work. And she, in, like, the Devil's Rejects one, was like, I did not want to do any of this. She's like, I never had any aspirations of being an actor, but, like, Rob was like, hey, I'm making this movie, like, I'd like you to be in it, and that just kept happening.
Yeah.
And so, and House of a Thousand Corpses, she's, like, annoying, but I think she serves the role. And Devil's Rejects, I think she's pretty good. I like her in Halloween as, like, the mom of Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Where, like,
That's right.
She does a pretty serviceable job of like this mom who's at like the end of her wits.
Yeah.
With like a kid who just murdered her entire family and shit.
Yeah, like just trying to get by.
And then Lords of Salem, she's fine in. I think that movie would be better with someone else, but I don't necessarily like hate her in it.
Yeah.
I think she's kind of great in this.
I think she's amazing in this. She's funny.
The only aspect I wish he would have put a line in that was just like, because like there's the little back and forth between Otis and fucking Wolfman. I can never remember the stepbrother's name. I just know it's Richard Brake as the actor. Where he's like, man, she's changed, and he's like. And, like, you know, he's like, she's just glad to be out. And he's like, no, you don't know her like I do. Yeah. Something happened. And I think the insinuation is that she was been in solitary for 10 years, so she's fucking lost it.
Yeah.
And I just wish there was, like, a line that explained that. Because, like, the first time I watched it, I was like, all right, well, like, she's clearly doing, like they're... Yeah. Her and Otis are clearly doing Manson family shit, right? Like, it's very, very much...
Yeah, like this is celebrity of it.
Yeah, this is very much inspired.
I'm the Public Enemy #1.
There is he's obviously was inspired by like the Manson family stuff, and so like her becoming very sort of hippy dippy, like
like she always had that vibe to her.
Not only in I'm telling you, in Devil's Rejects, she's not like that.
All right, I forget.
I know in Devil's Rejects, she's very much just like grounded's not the right word, but she's just like. She feels like a real person, and then like this, like it's obviously it's clearly something snapped, and she's snapped. Like, and like I just kind of wish there was one line that was just like.
Well, she does say at one point.
Does she?
She's like, "I've been away for 10 years."
I know
man.
that.
Like,
I don't know. Like the first time I watched it,
for me, I thought it was the explanation when she sits down with Sebastian, and she's like, "I like you. You remind me of my brother Tiny." And she's like, which is funny because he was so big and you're so small, but like it's an energy thing. And like that to me was like, oh, she snapped when Tiny died. Maybe that was her like person, like they always had like a like I don't know, like
because in Devil's Rejects,
she was she just I don't need to know why she snapped. I just love it.
I just like because like when that shit happens when she looks in the grate and sees the cat, I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, that's amazing.
I like that scene, but it feels so out of place in the rest of the movie that I was like,
well, no, like, when they start
the entire time I was watching the first time, I was waiting for something to happen where like she becomes a problem for Otis.
Well, she is. She's a problem for
she is, but she's not like it. Never really. It never fully becomes like an issue though.
Mm. It's not.
Unless it's a thing where he legitimately does have an idea for another movie.
Well, I think it's interesting because they have that one part where Otis is saying to Baby, the two of us,
when they're talking about
and then the stepbrother's like, the three of us. And so it's like, I feel like that implies that like Otis could take or leave the stepbrother and that it's like Baby that he has the most like, there's something in this movie in particular, and they've built up to it. It's always kind of been the theme. Like, obviously, they all have, like, this allegiance to her. She's, like, their only sister or whatever. But, like, there's, like, something where, like, the soft spot that exists in Otis is connected to her. And, like, for no one else.
Well, in this movie, they're, like, between this and Devil's Rejects, like, Tiny, the mom, Spaulding is...
What he says, it's just the two of us now.
I forget if it's like Spaulding is specifically her dad, but I think he's like Otis's stepdad. I don't think we ever find out like who Otis's dad is.
Well, but that's what he's like.
And so
the two of us left.
Yeah,
and that's when what's his name's like, the three of us.
But like, I don't know. I wish there was like something that like that all led to, as opposed to them just like being a happy family. I like it just feels like
I feel like there needs to be a sequel to this because I want to see without a third just fucking Baby and Otis killing people.
I don't know. I kind of like Richard Brake in this.
I don't like him.
He's the only part of 31 I like.
Get he works in this like his sleazy ass like he does that well, but I could take or leave the character. But no, overall,
I understand that, but I like Richard Brake is the only thing in 31 that I was like, why aren't we following him? Why the fuck are we following the rest of these people? Because he's like the big bad in it. And the beginning of that movie starts with one of those things where like he walks into frame and delivers this like 5-minute monologue straight to camera. What? Where like you realize that he's like talking to like a person who's tied to a chair, whatever. But he delivers this like insane monologue, and I was like, oh shit, this might be really good. And then I was like, oh no, this movie's fucking garbage. Yeah. So like, I think it was smart that like once he realized Sid Haig was like not going to be an option, I feel like Richard Brake serves
they had to put someone in
that role well, and like especially
smart ass kind of,
especially what seems like what had to have been like a, oh fuck, we're filming, we gotta fucking do something. And so the fact that like, or I think maybe like Rob Zombie said he went to visit like Sid Haig in the hospital and realized like what was going on, like 3 weeks before it was like something very quick where he had to all of a sudden like restructure his entire movie. So like the fact that this movie's remotely cohesive is like a minor miracle.
Yeah, but it falls apart at the end.
It does, but it doesn't. I think it's like, it's a little anticlimactic for me, but I don't necessarily think it's bad because I like the Sebastian stuff.
Yeah,
I love
him.
I like Baby with the bow and arrow.
Oh my god, I like her on the dresser behind the door in the motel, just like coming down at the guy. That was fun.
I really like that stuff, and I do like that like it was tied into like Danny Trejo's character.
Yeah,
like
I guess.
And I wonder if like the idea originally was like that was because like the Rob Zombie's very much like Kevin Smith, where like when he likes somebody, he's like those people are in every movie I'm making from now on.
Yeah.
So like, this is the story I wanted to tell you when we first started watching it, and you were like, who's that guy that plays the warden? And I was like, oh, it's the lead caveman. In the Halloween 2 commentary, that's the first movie he's in, Rob Zombie talks about how much he fucking loves the Geico caveman commercials, which broke my fucking brain.
See, I don't know why I feel like that word.
And he was like, he cast that guy.
Went after him.
He cast him in like a role that was like this little like one-off role. He's like a.
But was he like, bring me the head caveman?
Basically, he reached out to that guy, and was like, come be in my movie. To the point that he plays Herman Munster in the Munsters.
What?
Yeah, it's terrible. He's a bad Herman Munster, but I like him in like the other things.
That's
but like,
weird. Who else would play Herman Munster?
I don't really know who else I would cast, but like he looks weird.
Body shape.
The fucking brother from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Everybody Loves Raymond, or Yao Ming.
Who's Yao Ming? The basketball
player?
No, like
because he's so tall.
The problem.
He has a long head. No, he has a long face.
The problem I have is like I don't think the guy's like a bad actor as Herman. The makeup looks bad on him because his face is too thin. And so, like, he's got this thin face and this weird, like, big forehead thing for, like, the Frankenstein monster.
The reason why Munster worked on Fred Gwynn was because he had a head shaped like that.
Yeah, that's what I think my issue is with him.
That's why I'm thinking of Yao Ming. But that's the first person that came to mind.
Who do you think plays, what's Herman's wife? I can't think of the wife.
Marilyn. No, Marilyn's the daughter.
Marilyn's the daughter. Is it Lily? Yeah.
Munster.
Who do you think plays Lily?
It's what's her name?
Yeah, it's Sherri Moon Zombie.
Yeah, I remember that because I was like, oh, in my mind she would have played Marilyn.
I forget
because Marilyn's like the blonde, like all American.
Actually, I don't think Marilyn's in that because the movie ends.
The point of the show is Marilyn.
So that the entire movie is the courtship of Herman and Lily.
Because I was just say the whole point of the show is like their normal cousin has to come stay.
Yeah, I don't think
all the jokes rely on the connections to the normal.
I don't think her or the kid,
the wolf.
Yeah, the old wolfman kid.
Eddie?
I don't think he's in it either.
What?
It's Daniel Roebuck plays the
grandpa,
and then like her as Lily, and then Herman.
So it's not that's not the Munsters to me.
I think the idea is that it was supposed to start. I don't think so.
But it's supposed.
But it is a comedy.
Because like that's what I'm saying is the whole comedic like tension.
So like
in the Munsters is the normal world versus them, and they have a direct liaison because of Marilyn, and Marilyn has to like cover them up and explain them.
It's an origin story movie, which is a problem.
I will be
what sucks
never seeing it.
is My thing I've always said, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing me say this over these like 10 episodes, is like, I've always wanted to see Rob Zombie make something that isn't a horror movie. Because at some point he was attached...
This isn't really a horror movie.
This
is more like an action
It's the
film.
same way The Devil's Rejects is considered a horror movie.
I don't think it's a horror movie. I think it's an action film.
I think they're horror road movies, basically.
What's horror about this?
It's extremely violent.
It's a violent action movie.
Would you say Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer is a horror movie?
No.
What about Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yes.
But this is not really much different.
But like House of a Thousand Corpses, I would say horror movie. This is an action film.
I disagree.
It's a slasher.
I think the second half of this becomes, like you said, like a Robert Rodriguez sort of thing. But like, I would say all of the stuff with the fucking... them with like the warden and his wife and whatever's going, like all those people is pretty horrific. Like,
movie, but
like it's still
that's
a
what
horror
I mean. Like
movie.
it's just like it's like the first half is horror and the second half is like action.
It's the way he says Devil Rejects is like the horror take on like Bonnie and Clyde. So
this is not at all the type of horror that I like.
At one point was attached to direct a Groucho Marx biopic, which because
starring who?
I don't know. It never happened.
Sherri Moon Zombie.
Yeah. Otis Driftwood, Captain Spaulding, Baby Firefly are all names from Groucho Marx movies.
Are they?
The thing the cop realizes in Devil's Rejects that all of their aliases are Groucho Marx character names.
He's like obsessed.
And so at some point he was going to do that, and then there was like a thing where he was attached to direct like a hockey movie about this like extremely violent like real life hockey team.
Okay.
I every time I talk about it, I can't remember the name of it. It's like the something Brawlers or something.
Bay City Brawlers.
No, it was like
the Bay City Rollers.
I was going to say Boston, but it's like I'm never right. And I was like, you know what would be good? Like I think he would make a pretty fucking decent like 70s violent hockey team movie.
Yeah.
Because he shoots violence well. And he clearly is like obsessed with the 70s.
Yeah.
And so like I've always wanted to see him make something outside of his general whatever he does. So when the Munsters got announced, I was like, I don't really care about the Munsters, but like that might be interesting.
I could see him do like a music documentary from the 70s.
The problem is like the Munsters was originally going to be like a theatrical movie and then became a straight to Netflix movie, and it looks like it. It looks cheap and
like
shitty.
That
was the thing.
Cut to be like
is everyone
that modern?
I don't think so.
You know where there's that switch in black and white television?
Yeah, I know.
So like, I don't know what it's called when the cameras switch, but like
this is the problem. Is like it looks cheap, but not cheap in the way that like because everyone was like, "Well, it's supposed to look like the show," and it doesn't. Like there's scenes that it literally looks like someone slapped like paint on some plywood for the background and shit, and it just looks bad.
Cool. They should have just animated it like that fucking
Addams
Family remake.
He made an animated movie and it is unwatchable.
Oh no, what is it?
It's called. It's based on his comic book, The Haunted World of El Super Beasto, but it's the
El Super Beasto.
I believe it's the animator from or like the animation team from Ren and Stimpy. So it looks good.
Blow drew RFK,
but yeah, but every fucking joke is terrible. It is so unfunny, and it's like that like Family Guy style humor where there's like a joke every fucking 3 seconds, and none of them land, and it's brutal.
Say no more.
And Lori had to watch it, and so
did she tell you about it?
So when I reached out to Lori, I was like,
on the last episode before this?
2 episodes before this, I think.
Okay, I'll listen.
And so Lori, I was like, hey, do you want to like do one of these episodes? And she was just like, well, I own Devil's Rejects and I own like that animated movie. I was like, no one's going to pick the animated movie, so let's do that. And we did
the animated movie with her?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
And so we mostly talked about how like he writes the worst dialogue. And I think what happened is I think unfortunately he may have done the thing I said, which was like,
dude,
hey, here's the plot I want.
Yeah.
But he's friends with this comedian named Tom Papaw, where he directed a comedy special for him. Mm-hmm. and he's the voice of like Super Beasto in it.
Okay.
And I think he was like, "Hey, you write the jokes for this."
Yeah.
And they're all fucking terrible. And like Rosario Dawson plays a character in it where she's playing a white woman who has the most insane like ghetto like accent. She's playing like a stripper in it. And she's supposed to be like a goth stripper.
But why? What?
I don't know. It's weird. It's fun. It's a bummer.
What does he do? Like put white face on her?
No, it's an animated.
Oh, it's
thing.
an animated. Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's the Ren and Stimpy animation thing.
I fully forgot you were talking animated, and I was like, this.
Yeah.
Is
and so like
problematic.
the thing in the movie that like sucks is it's not funny, but they do that shit where like from far away all the animation looks good. And from close up, like, they do that real gross, like, close-up shit where it'll show, like, a foot for the joke, and it's all, like fucked up.
Oh, my God. Like
and I was like, man, this is just a bummer. Anyway, 3 from Hell.
3 from Hell.
Like...
I mean, this movie could stand without any prequels. Like, this movie could be a one-off movie... And just say, oh, they were this crazy killers and show some flashbacks like they did. You could have no knowledge of the other 2 movies and get everything you need to know about the story and the plot from this movie.
I will say one of the things, though, is like you just said with that, this and Devil's Rejects, like, I think he does a good job of setting them up where they're sequels that you don't have to see the previous one. Like, he does a good job of, like, having enough explanation and, like, sort of the beginning preamble.
Yeah, like, I guess that's good for movie sales or box office sales.
Because, like, he almost immediately abandoned his, like, House of a Thousand Corpses, like, aesthetic and shit.
Grimy.
Not even gross, just, like, the thing, House of a Thousand Corpses.
Hoarder house. They had, like, a hoarder house.
Yeah. House of a Thousand Corpses is shot like a music video. Like, it almost feels like a Rob Zombie music video made in the style of, like, 66 Batman.
Yeah.
Where, like, he's doing, like, the Dutch angles and shit like that. And it's like, that's, you know how, like, the Batman and, like, TV show Adam West one, there'd be, like, those weird tilted angles and shit.
Oh, that's what that is.
Where it's, like, slightly from the bottom, but, like, that's a Dutch angle.
Stressed out Tenebrae.
He's fine.
He heard the word hoarder house.
They...
Sorry, baby.
Like, they do shit in House of a Thousand Corpses where, like, some scenes are, like, really bright and colorful. Then there'll be this shit where he's shot on, like...
real dark.
A handheld where it's just them. Like, there's randomly a scene of, like, this old couple talking about, like, the skunk ape assaulted his wife that has nothing to do with the movie.
That's what I mean.
It's shit like that. And, like, it very much feels like all of his music videos.
Just everything he wanted to put on film ever, he threw into one film, like you said.
It's also a movie he had, like, 2 or 3 years of just tinkering with in post-production, and I think it does, like, the thing of, like, the Guns N' Roses Chinese Democracy album that took, like, 15 years for them to make, where, like he felt like one of those things where he was like, I have all this time and I can really perfect it, and you just end up fucking up your movie doing that.
The time that that and Devil's Rejects came out, like, that was the time when I, like, actively went to, like, horror conventions. And so it was like, in New Jersey, you have, like, Monster Mania and you have Chiller Theater. Those are, like, the 2 big ones. Like, Chiller Theater is, like, close to Halloween.
Those still happen?
I think Monster Mania does at
The only one I ever see is there's one just called, like, I think that's just called New Jersey Horror Convention.
Oh, well, it used to be called Monster Mania. I don't know if it's, like, different or split off. And then they used to have Chiller Theater up, I want to say, in, like, Secaucus or, like, somewhere up in North Jersey. Maybe West Orange. I don't know. South Orange. Someone knows. Like, somebody maybe that listens knows. But I used to go to them with Joe, and then I also dated, like, another guy for a little while who was also named Joe, who was also into heart. Very weird.
You just like horror bros.
Yeah, you know me. It kind of is. It's like if I'm in, like, a hetero
it's also, like, to be fair, most people that are into, like, metal and punk and shit like that
like,
are
I feel
usually
like there
into
is,
horror
like, an
movies as
underlying,
well.
especially, like, when you're from New Jersey, everybody has a Misfits tattoo. Like, it's just, like, I get, like, it is, like, every punk person, but, like, especially from New Jersey.
Everyone knows the least problematic band of all time, the Misfits.
The
where
worst.
Every member has been not a problem.
Did you see the meme I sent you where someone painted a Hulk doll into...
Yeah, I've seen that a bunch, yeah.
That cracked me up. Anyway, so that was like the time when this was, and I remember there was like definitely a divide of like the... like, I'm so underground, you'll never know. Like, people were, like, anti, right? And then, like, the people who were there for fun, and they had, like, the cutesy barrettes, and, like, you know, the, like, more happy, like, lighthearted
there's, like,
fans
there's like, the people that are going to meet the actors, and then there's people that are like, I'm gonna go find a fucked up underground horror movie.
And so, like, there was definitely that divide, and, like, I felt like, you know, I don't really fall into either one of those categories, but... one of them we went to with some tangential person in my life who's not in my life anymore, and she was really like let's say a pick me person, you know. I'm not like other girls. I like the weird horror.
Are we talking about Irene?
No. Oh my god, don't you ever blaspheme Irene. No, this was before... I'm going to get a text
in like 8 months when she
listens
to these.
Because Irene is significantly younger than me. Irene was probably like in middle school at this time. No offense to Irene.
To be fair, anytime we talk about someone here, Kit's like...
I'm a good significant...
I'll be like, yeah, I was like going to these hardcore shows. And Kit was like, I was 7.
Yeah, so no, it was not the darling angel Irene. You're just jealous because we didn't invite you to hang out with us yesterday.
I don't need to. I got Tenebrae.
Anyway, and she was like, oh my god, you know who's going to be there? Captain Spaulding. And so anyway, long story short, she did one of those like pay $40 for like a picture with Sid Haig. And we got to meet him. I didn't want a picture with him. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, no, it's her thing. Like, he was just like so, like, not like mad, but he was just like, okay. Like,
no, so I talked about this when I recorded with Shane for House Without Corpses. There was a horror convention in Dayton that like I found about like the day of it. I was like, I was like, I'm gonna go just like look around or whatever, because it was one of those ones that was like free to get in, but you had to like, you know, spend money on shit. I think whatever.
Yeah, or it's like $10 to get in, but like $10.
And so I went,
and up for pictures.
And I was like, oh shit, Sid Haig's here. And it was, and this was like pre.
Yeah, he's just in there with the merch.
It was pre.
He's not even with the photo booth.
It was pre the way they are now, where it is that like you didn't have to like spend money to go talk to him. And so I went up and I bought a House of a Thousand Corpses shirt that, if it still is not melted, Megan has. I gave it to Megan at one point.
Megan from
Couch Slut.
Oh, okay.
That just had like, you know, some whatever artwork on the front and the back in blood, like almost kind of like the Help Me I'm in Hell from Frank or from Hellraiser. I feel like
I've seen Megan in that t-shirt.
Probably.
It's
it says everybody fucking dies on the end.
Very on brand.
And I bought that, and he's like, you want a signature on that? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
Because the signature costs more money, but I was like, I'm not a signature person.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, I just want the shirt. Nice to meet you, bye.
Well, mine was just like, I'm not going to be in someone else's picture.
I was just kind of like, and then afterwards I was like, I kind of feel bad. But
now
I was
want to go to a horror convention, because like, that was fun. We went to see Bruce Campbell, like, question and answer. And like,
I've never been to another one except for that one.
Really? We should go to Months. I don't know.
There was
our Chiller Theater is better, but like we should go to one.
There was a big one, like a big comic book convention I would go to a lot in Dayton. But like like that horror one, I think only happened like once.
I think they're fun. Like I said, like you have to go like with whatever. But I've been to a lot.
That's my big issue. Like, is I want to go because I want to go look for movies.
Yeah. Well, I used to go.
The problem is
cool
so much of it now is like, here, spend $50 on your ticket, then spend another $150 to like stand in line and get a picture with Clint Howard from 6 feet away.
And you know who's always there? Corbin Burnson.
Gary Busey.
No, Corbin Burnson is always there.
Gary Busey had a big thing at the New Jersey Horror Convention about like someone claiming that like he like groped her or something, and then like she recanted like almost immediately. I don't know.
Either way,
I don't know whatever happened with that, but I was like,
yikes.
Yeah, that checks out.
I went to one in like Long Island once with my friend Jill, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I would go,
but it's also like,
well, you're off sometimes.
Yeah, I was like, well, up until like recently, I've not been really off.
Anyway, to be continued on horror convention chat.
Yeah. I mean, do you have anything else about 3 from Hell.
I mean, like I said, I really had a lot of fun with Baby's whole storyline in this. She's fucking bonkers. She's so funny. And then, like, when she almost falls in love with Sebastian, it's, like, just, like, the weirdest fucking shit. And, yeah, she is my favorite part of the whole movie, which I did not expect to happen. So I was pleasantly surprised.
When I started rewatching these, like I said, I was, like, one of those people who was like, man, stop putting your wife in everything. And now I'm like, no, I think she's relatively good. Yeah. Like, I think she gets shit on unfairly because, like, it is a... I mean, I understand that people are just, like I said in, like, Lords of Salem, like, I watched that and I was like, I feel like this would be a 5-star movie with almost anyone else in that lead role. Yeah. But I think that has to do with the fact that she has white person dreadlocks in it. And that was just like, God damn it.
That feels very Rob Zombie
like,
coded.
I think so far, and, like I said, I've watched everything, but I haven't rewatched 31 or Monsters yet. And I know I hate both of them. And I don't, like, she's not necessarily the problem with those movies, but, like, it becomes a thing where, like, her in a bad movie is, like, not a good combination. But, like, I overall have to say, like, most of my time on IMDb Suffer, I've been like, fuck Rob Zombie and fuck Sherri Moon Zombie. These movies are terrible.
I feel like you've always been that since I've known you.
I've mostly, at least... Like, I don't know if I will rewatch most of these. I would maybe rewatch Halloween 2. I think we should watch Lords of Salem at some point. Because I think you would like it very much. Like, a lot of people say it's like Rob Zombie's like Rosemary's Baby. So it's like very much like a sort of satanic panic, but mostly like a witches thing. What?
Are you afraid the baby thinks people can't change? Because people can change.
No, they can't.
The baby was wrong.
Baby wants sloppy steaks.
The baby was wrong.
Oh man, imagine Rob Zombie directing like
people
a Tim Robinson.
People can change. You change.
I need
and expanded your horizons.
I need him to cast Tim Robinson in something where he just says motherfucker and cocksucker over and over and over again. That's the only dialogue Rob Zombie can write.
People can change.
No, I don't think I would rewatch most of his movies, but I did not dislike most of them, is my thing with most of these so far.
If I was sorry.
Like, Devil's Rejects I think is really good, but I also don't feel the need to ever rewatch it. I would probably rewatch his Halloween movies as I feel like I'm going to rewatch like the Halloween franchise. Because like I said in those episodes, I think my overall ranking would be like clearly the John Carpenter one, top tier.
Yeah.
And then 3 Season of the Witch. And then I would probably put Rob Zombies above everything else in that franchise.
Not H2O.
No, fuck. I fucking hate H2O. Everyone's always like, I don't understand why you don't like H2O.
No, I know you hate it. That's why I said
all of them. All of the Halloween movies are fucking terrible. I would maybe put like the 2018 reboot maybe above like his. I'm not sure. I haven't rewatched it in a while. But like in general, I think his Halloween movies are
they're pretty good.
Like unfairly hated on because... The thing about the last 3 Halloween movies is everyone's like, oh, Michael Myers is so brutal in them. And I'm like, have you watched the Rob Zombie ones? Because Michael Myers will, like, stab somebody 4 times after they're dead. Yeah. And he stomps somebody's head in.
He's brutal. Like, what's scary about Michael Myers to me in any Halloween movie, and why I think he's one of the scariest, not just because you can't see who's behind it. Like, that happens to a lot of people.
Because it's William Shatner.
Well, yeah, no. It's because he seems to have... this fucking, especially in the Rob Zombie, like the first Rob Zombie one, he just has this like brute strength.
Well, so
like he has
that's the thing.
The like I will crush your skull by flicking it like strength behind.
He cast this guy named Tyler Mane, I think.
The guy who plays him in the he's
huge. A 6'8" wrestler.
Yeah, he reminds me of the guy from fucking Game of Thrones who crushes Pedro Pascal's head.
I didn't watch Game of Thrones, so I don't know. The Mountain?
Gregor.
Is his name the Mountain?
Yeah, Gregor Clegane.
The thing I really like, I would joke about on like Blue Sky or like whatever with the Halloween ones is like my favorite thing in his Halloween movies is Michael Myers is constantly bursting through walls. And
he's big.
And Rob Zombie talks about in the commentaries for those is there would be miscommunication with set design where they built like in Halloween 2, the beginning of it, they're like he
just went through walls.
there's like this little like guard shack at the hospital.
It's going through the wrong wall.
And like they just built a real shed that was like fortified and shit. And Tyler Mane took it like personally and was like, I'm breaking through this fucking shed, and breaks through all 4 walls of the shed. That's why. And I was like,
if that person wants to kill you, like they're going to.
I talked about in the first one, I was like, my favorite thing in this movie is Michael Myers bursting through all these fucking beat up walls of the old Myers house or whatever. And then I tweeted or posted something on Blue Sky where I was just like, me watching like Rob Zombie's Halloween. No, I'm not Lil Wayne. So I was like, my favorite thing is like, you know, me watching whatever. It doesn't care. I don't care. Fuck both of them. Like my thing about, I was like,
challenge.
I don't care about either of them. They're not juvenile. I don't care. I posted like me watching Rob Zombie's Halloween. Man, Michael Myers bursting through walls is like my favorite thing. Me watching Halloween 2. As Michael Myers burst through all 4 walls of a guard shack. This is the greatest movie ever made. 5 stars. Because, like, I don't know. Something about his Michael Myers just, like, bursting through shit. I was like, this is terrifying. Yeah. Like, he's the most terrifying version of Michael Myers outside of the John Carpenter one, where it's just, like, an unexplained thing. Like,
yeah, that's why. Like, for me, I think there are situations where you're like, oh, if someone has a gun, you could, there's different things that could happen. But if it's like, if a giant human who can break through steel walls wants to crush you and kill you, they're going to.
And that was the thing that, like,
you don't have a chance.
The thing Kit and I talked about, too, that he did really well, because Kit had never seen Halloween 2, so he did that episode with me. And, like, he didn't like it, but there were aspects to it that he appreciated. Yeah. And one of the things we talked about was, like, the way he portrays Michael in it, like, he has long hair, so when he puts on the mask, there's just a stringy hair stuff.
Yeah, he's like, real, like, Slipknot-y.
And, like, he, like, in, like, the first one, they very, very much show that, like, he never cleans himself.
He doesn't clean himself, he doesn't, he just grunts.
By the end of it, his hands are just, like, caked in dirt, and it's like, he feels unhinged, as opposed to where... And all the other ones, he's just that, like, robotic walking, whatever. Like
he's just kind of stalkery.
He feels like a real, like, I don't know if this is the proper term, but, like, psychopath in it.
No, he feels like potato sack on the head, like, coming to you on a dirt road, like, I'm killing you.
It, like, I think it works better than all, like, most of the other Halloweens. And everyone's like, no, I like the other sequels where, like, it's explained that a cult's running it. And I'm like, fuck you, shut up.
I mean, it's like, Michael Myers to me has always been scary for the way that he, like, moves and shows up places, but that is terrifying.
The only thing they didn't do, they should have Bill Moseley play. No. Sherri Moon Zombie, Michael Myers.
Sherri Moon Zombie as just dancing around.
I am kind of bummed because, like, the end of Halloween 2, like, in the like his director's cut, he very specifically shot an ending where he kills everyone in it because he was like, I'm not making any more of these movies. I can see that. Because the Weinsteins fucked him over so bad on both of them.
Oh, that was, like, Weinstein?
Yeah, the Weinsteins produced it. And, like, he talked about, like...
Yeah, what's his, like, take on that?
The commentaries are before any of that shit was, like, well known. So, like, he's not really talking about that. But he talks about in the first one, they were, like, on his ass the entire time because they were like, you have to make us a good Halloween movie. This needs to be a success. Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, once that was a success, I thought they'd leave me alone, but they doubled it because they were just like, now it's got to be like a franchise. And he was like, they would show me footage from my first Halloween, and I would be like, why are you showing me this? I made that movie. I know what's in that fucking movie. And like,
that feels like it, like the Hollywood machine.
Yeah, and like, so he was just like, I'm killing Laurie, I'm killing Loomis, I'm killing Michael. Everyone dies in the director's cut at the end. And so, like... But like the theatrical cut, like Laurie lives, but she's like in an asylum or whatever at the end. And I was like, I do kind of wish he made one more that was like Laurie's Michael Myers now.
Yeah, that would be
because that would have been interesting, but that didn't happen.
Yeah,
give it time.
Yeah,
he does not seem. I haven't necessarily fully looked into it, but I was like, I don't feel like I've heard anything about him like making another movie since The Munsters, and that was like 4 years ago now, maybe.
I would be into like watching his movie.
What, the Halloweens?
Like if he came out with another.
Oh, if he had a new one, it depends. Like at this point, I feel like I would watch it when it's like streaming for free. I don't know.
I'm not like going.
Unless I saw a trailer and I was like, "Fuck, that actually looks interesting."
Did you see the Brooklyn Alamo Draft House? They went on strike.
Yeah,
it's the workers.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they're still on strike.
I think all the New York ones.
I recognized the one bartender from like the article I saw. I just remembered what he looked like.
I did. I know. I saw.
I was just proud of them. Sorry,
some of the movie
theater.
Yeah, some of the movie people I follow were tweeting about like
solidarity.
Like
with
I figure,
workers.
Well, this will be out in like 2 months, so hopefully they're not still on strike.
Hopefully they're not still on strike, and hopefully they got whatever equity they were looking for from their workers.
Anyway, Free from Hell, pretty good. Not the best.
I'm sorry,
but.
Is it too political for your podcast?
No, I've just been doing like roughly like an hour or so,
kidding.
so like wrap it up.
All right.
Like this movie, this was one of the ones I talked about. Like I said, like I hadn't seen it before, and most of the people that really liked Devil's Rejects, like his movies, were like, "This is garbage." And so when I went into it, I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be bad."
I thought it was fun.
And I was like, "This was like not like." The dialogue is pretty bad, but Rob Zombie writes pretty bad dialogue.
Yeah.
So like. Outside of that, like I was like, yeah, this is like fine. Like this was not.
I felt like it felt like a movie that would like play.
It wasn't
on,
as
PBS
as
edited, like
egregious as I thought it was gonna be. You know.
Yeah.
And like the thing, everyone was like, oh, Sherri Moon Zombie is like intolerable in it. I was like, she's
actually amazing.
Outside of like Bill Moseley, she's the best part. Like
she's got like Nell vibes in this a little bit, like Nell the Jodie Foster,
yeah.
like feral, like unhinged, like just like raised by wolves vibes, like, kind of, and I like it.
Bill Moseley's one of my favorite sort of like people that just pop up in fucking 30 movies a year, like him and like Lance Henriksen and fucking like
he's good. I mean,
it's
funny because sorry,
I was gonna say like. He's clearly just doing, like, he was cast specifically because of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Clearly.
Yeah.
And just, like, I think, like, overall, I think, like, Rob Zombie probably was a Bill Moseley fan.
Yeah.
And, like, that's clearly what he's doing in that first movie, but he becomes, like, a more scary character in Devil's Rejects, where, like, that is still kind of the character he's playing, but it's a little more, like, lighthearted, and I kind of like the take of Otis in this, where he's like
this Otis.
Scary, but also like seems like he's having fun.
But like you see his soft spots.
Well, I guess the difference is because the Devil's Rejects, they're like their house got raided, so they're on the run.
Otis
whereas opposed to this,
scary in the Devil's Rejects.
No, I know, and I think he is in that first half. I think.
I don't think so.
Like,
not for me.
I think. The difference, I guess it's like the difference in like what their atmosphere is, where like they got attacked, and now they're like kind of on their back feet a little bit.
Yeah.
And in this, it's like less we're protecting ourselves, and more like we're getting the family back together sort of thing.
No, I know, but I don't know. I just think it's funny because like the look of Otis is also like the look of like.
He's Jay Giles.
Like 50%
or not Jay,
of
Edgar
like
Edgar White.
Aging men at like hardcore punk and like metal shows. And so there's always like an Otis type if you look around. But like I think the thing with like he was scary to me in The Devil's Rejects, and like it's a figure that like I don't know, I feel like it's in nightmares I have sometimes, like there's that character and he's not that in this. Like he has a little more like weight on his body, like his face is a little clearer. There's like certain things about he's like more kempt.
Well, so
and like it like feels less threatening. I don't know, like which is not like I've certainly had my times in my life when I was certainly unkempt, and that not to say that like if you're unclean you're like threatening, but like I don't know.
No, but I mean because like at Devil's Rejects he's like covered in like dirt and blood and shit throughout the entire movie.
Like very scary.
And I guess you would think in this one he's like probably forced to take showers at the fucking prison
or like
and shit.
I don't know. He just he's more like hardy in this one.
I guess the other thing I want to touch on is like R.I.P. Sid Haig.
Yeah, it's sad.
Looks bad in this movie. It
looks very bad.
Because I remember seeing the trailer and I was like, woof.
Yeah,
and like he was still alive, and I was like I don't I don't know what this is gonna be like, but
yeah, I mean, he was a legacy, and maybe for Rob Zombie, like, he just hasn't wanted to think about like continuing this like series without him or something, you know.
I don't know. I'd be interested if that's like because I feel like
Sid Haig was like an actor from like the 50s and
yeah,
shit,
he was in
right?
like he was in Spider Baby in
Yeah,
like the 60s and
yeah.
shit. Because like he's clearly not a director that is afraid to kill off like main characters to specifically be like, well, I'm done with this.
He's unafraid to
And
reference.
I also guessed, like, I think that's what, like, the idea with Devil's Rejects was he was just like, I don't want to make another one of these movies. And then, you know, like, fucking 15 years passed and he did. So, like, I don't know. I'd be curious if he ends up making another one because, like, they're all alive at the end of it. Just like...
If they really feel set up for a sequel, but, like, when was this made?
This was 2019, I think.
Oh, so it's not that far.
Because it was this, and then he did The Munsters, and then he's been, I think, just doing music shit. Because he... And one of the things, either one of the commentaries or one of the, like, the little, like, interview things I read, he talked about, like, he's someone who can only focus on one thing at a time. So it's like, if he's going on tour, he's not doing movie shit. He's just doing music stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So, sounds like you are a big Rob Zombie fan. And we're going to go see him when he comes on tour.
Wow. I appreciate...
We'll go see him with fucking
Rob
Marilyn
Zombie's
Manson or whoever he tours with.
ability to reference or not reference. No, he's yeah, I don't know. He just like it's just not in my world,
I know. Yeah, that's why I thought it was interesting to have you on one of the episodes. It's like
much, yeah.
I feel like everyone else I picked has either like has strong feelings about him one way or the other, and I thought it'd be interesting with you to be like somebody who's probably like less tied to any of this.
Yeah, I don't take it as not like
I think
as seriously or like I don't have stakes in it.
If I had watched, if I had seen everything prior, I feel like I would have had you and like Chris Matthews switch because I want to watch Lords of Salem with you at some point because I think you would actually like that.
We always do it on our podcast.
Yeah.
Which we have a podcast together.
Yeah. Well,
at this point, we put out a yearly episode. Like it's fucking.
We put out like 3 or 4.
It used to be like 3 a year, 4 a year,
and
now it's like twice.
I think we did 3 last year.
But you didn't introduce me in the beginning.
What was I supposed to say from blah, blah, blah? I said my partner, Caitlin. And I said your last name.
Of our podcast.
Of New Jersey Harm Reduction Coalition.
Oh, yeah. I'm not tied to... I'm not in my work role here.
What do you want to plug? Tell people where they can find your podcast.
It is called...
Nate and Kate Movie.
Nate and Kate
Jesus
Movie
Christ.
I was getting there. I couldn't remember if it was Kate and Nate or Nate and Kate. Nate and Kate Movie Club, which...
We know who the star is here.
Don't call me Kate, but you could. And I won't be against it. But it does imply that I like being called that.
We're going to change it to the Lex and Tenebrae.
Well, not the Tenebrae that's like branded.
Hey, stop.
The Tenebrae that is our problem child cat.
No.
Yeah, or if you live in New Jersey and need access to Narcan or naloxone, rather,
go to the vending machine.
Yeah, go to our naloxone vending machine in New Brunswick and Woodbridge, or go to njharmreduction.org, and also we can mail you free syringes and pipes and safer smoking stuff, safer snorting stuff, etc., so that you do not overdose, and drug checking supplies. And if you don't live in New Jersey but you want naloxone, which is like known by its brand name Narcan, you can go to nextdistro.org and look up your state and get some mailed to you for free.
That was a better job than Kit did when I was like, hey, you want to tell everybody where your podcast is at? And he was like, I don't know any of those details. Let's do every week.
I do a monthly naloxone training where I say that. I memorize that.
Kit does a weekly podcast with me where I spout out all the stuff that
we
do. And anytime we've been
that's
guests,
not his job.
Anytime we've been guests on anything, they'll be like, where do you guys want to promote your stuff? I'm like, go ahead, Kit. And he's like,
that's not Kit's role.
I know, it's my role.
Kit is the starlet.
All right, thank you for watching this movie with me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Why didn't I get Kit and Katie on?
Because they did not want to watch any of these movies.
Oh, you've been doing them all alone?
Yeah, it's just,
I thought you were doing some of them with Katie for some reason.
So I did one with Kit because he had never seen Halloween 2. So he's like, yeah, I'll do that. Katie was like, absolutely not. But Katie's going to do a wrap-up movie episode with me. So when I get done watching these...
I just like being on episodes with
I realized he actually wrote a novel for Lords of Salem that we're going to talk about. And then I'm going to do like, oh, this was my takeaway of watching all these movies. Here's my ranking of them, or like whatever at the end. So there'll be 10 altogether. But I have one more after this besides that wrap-up. So I have one more movie to watch, which is The Munsters. And unfortunately, that's next. And I'm...
Do you have, like...
Not gonna like it. Do I have what?
I don't know. Isn't there, like, a thing you guys always do? Like, now it's time for...
Well, we usually do stuff we watched and shit, but that's... I'm not doing... This is like a little just side project thing.
I just wanted to make sure we were doing your podcast. Right?
I know what I'm doing. I'm professional.
Well, I don't see it like an agenda or like
I don't need
outline.
it anymore. I could do all that shit from heart or from memory at this point. I literally don't take any notes for anything anymore.
You're very smart.
I have to say all of my spiel at the end every fucking week, so at this point I've got it all like memorized. Yeah, next week or next episode of this will be The Munsters.
Have fun with that.
And,
who's on that?
My friend Sheridan from what's her fucking podcast called? I don't remember. She told me about it next week.
But I feel bad for them that they have to watch.
She picked it because she was like, "I want shit all over that movie." And I was like, "Yes, let's do it."
There you go.
She did one of our regular episodes with us. I forget what movie it was, though.
I feel like I heard that one probably.
And then, like, after that, it'll be me and Katie, where I'm going to be like, Rob Zombie's fine. And she's going to be like, you're wrong.
You
What's
should trick
happen?
Katie into watching the Munsters one.
That's the one, like, when I was like, hey, I was thinking about doing, like, a thing where I rewatch all of...
I really want to hear Katie's take on it.
I think she did. I think she made it 10 minutes into it, and I was like, nope. And Kit liked it for some reason. And...
Kit. Come on.
But it was fun because I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. Like, maybe we watch all the Rob Zombie movies. Katie was like, fuck no. Absolutely not. Because when we were still on Twitter, she would do, like, on Friday nights, she would pick a movie on Shudder and, like, live tweet it. And we had to start doing polls, and Kit and I rigged it so everyone voted, so she had to watch 31, and she didn't realize it was a Rob Zombie movie and the worst Rob Zombie movie. So she was like, I'm never watching one of his movies again. So that's why this is like me doing this with just like guests. Yeah. All right. I hope you get to murder Clint Howard as a clown, but why? The one thing we didn't talk about.
Oh, yeah.